Hey, 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 fam bam. What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl Santina, and I'm back with another video. So, today I just wanted to talk about being in foster care. And I know I've told my story a couple times, and once I really get um, a big enough following, once we get a big enough following or whatever, we're going to share our stories all over again, so that others can, hear and learn from us. But today I was actually talking with Trey this morning. We were eating breakfast, and I was just talking to him about being in foster care, because growing up in foster care for me was really, really tough. Like, I'm not going to go into my whole story right now, but basically what I was sharing with him was, you know, um, I was explaining to him, like, kind of like why I like to watch certain movies. There's certain movies that I like to watch, and sometimes my husband, he be looking like, why is she watching that? What is wrong with her? Why is she watching that again? You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I guess yesterday I had found this. You know how when you scrolling on Facebook, um, Facebook kind of shows you different pages or different people that you can follow. And so I came across this girl, and she was a foster child. It wasn't her page. I believe it was her mom's page, where her mom shows her on the page all the time. So, I don't really know everything about her story, but I know, like, she was a troubled child. She went through a lot growing up, either with her parents or being in a foster care system, whichever one it was. They haven't really shared their whole story yet, but they said eventually they will. So I'm waiting for that. I'm excited to hear her story. But this young lady, she's been through a lot. In her 10 years of life, I believe she was 10 at the time when she got adopted into this family, a man and a woman, this married couple, they adopted her. And just looking at her life now, I don't know everything that she went through, but they always, exclaim how she has been through so much, and how when they first got here, it was like a nightmare. And, it was tough dealing with her, because they wanted a baby at first, and then, but when they heard her story, it was like, everything changed, and they really wanted to save her from whatever it was that she was going through. So it must have been very traumatic for them to go from wanting an infant, which most foster parents want infants, because they don't like to deal with whatever trauma an older child has been through. Like, they have to deal with you know all of the stuff that came along with them going through certain things that they've been through. And so that's basically why they wanted a baby, because they can, just raise a baby, from infant, and then, just raise them up. But when you get a child, that child has already been through so much in life, whether it be just being in foster care, or being, them living with their parents, and they just got taken away from their parents. And then they've been through so much hell and so much, you know, things being with their biological family, that now, you have this child that is angry, or, they've been raised in a very bad way. So they have very bad habits. They can be very mean. They can be very, some foster kids can be dangerous, because you don't know, what all these children have been through, or what their whole background is. Everything that's on black and white is not always everything. So, it can be dangerous taking in foster kids, especially older ones that have memories of things that they went through, or older ones that have been taught in a certain way. And, now you have to unteach these bad things that these bad people have taught them, and I can understand that it can be tough. So, but they took in this young lady and they went through all kind of stuff. I know I'm going to hear more about the stuff that they did or the stuff that she did and things that, they went through as a family in order to, get this child together. Like they had to go through therapy and all kind of stuff. Even the parents did, from dealing with whatever the child has suffered or went through. And I'm not saying this to scare anybody from taking in foster children. Yes, there's a lot of children who need help, who need parents, who need families. And a lot of times the older ones get lost in the system because people don't want to take in that baggage. And it sucks because I know what it's like to be in a group home for over a year waiting for a family. And the group home, you're only supposed to be there for 6 months, and then they would pass you along, or it was just a temporary spot. But I went there when I was 15, and I stayed there until after I was 16. And it was tough because I got to see other kids go home, go back to their parents, or go to foster homes and things like that, especially the little ones. But the older ones that were in the system, a lot of times they get lost in the system until they're 18, and then they just get booted out into the world, and they have to learn how to fend for themselves. But hearing this young lady's story and seeing how her foster parents treat her, man, it just made me so happy to see one of us, you know what I'm saying, just beat the odds of being in foster care or being in the system. It's not a fun place to be. It's not always, hey, you're going to get a good family. Sometimes you get bounced around. Like I was bounced around a little bit. Then I got adopted into a bad family, and I had to stay there for 9 years and being abused and mistreated and mishandled and unloved, and it was tough. 9 years of my childhood got taken from me because of being in this terrible foster home. But God really had his hand on my life because of all the things that I went through. Somehow I didn't become a product of my environment. A lot of people that I know or see that have come through the system, some of them don't always turn out to be better than where they came from. You know what I'm saying? Some children have had parents who abuse them, and then they grow up abusing their kids. Some children have had parents that were like prostitutes, or they just having a bunch of kids and not taking care of them, and then next thing you know, boom, they end up becoming that person as well, because that's all they know, that's all they saw. But for me, thankfully, everything that I saw happening to me, I was able to take a mental note, and I learned from it in the way of, I would never do this to my children. When I have children, I would never do this. When I have children, I'm never going to mistreat them. I'm never going to beat them. I'm never going to, you know what I'm saying, give them a terrible life. I always show them love and, affection. And so from everything that I've received, all the bad that I received being in foster care, I turned it around for the good for my children, or for my son, because I only have one son. And I did that for Michael. And for those who don't know, my son's name is Michael. Michael is actually 21 now, so he's an adult, but he still, lives with us. He's still trying to figure out what he wants to do with himself and everything. So, but he's doing pretty well, working and everything and helping us out. So, but with that being said, my son, he didn't grow up getting beat. Everything that I didn't have, if it was in my power to do for him or to give him, I did it. And sometimes that probably caused me to spoil him a little bit, because I was determined to not be a product of the environment that I grew up in. But like, yes, Michael got spankings, he got whoopings and stuff like that. He got punished. He got put on punishment when he was bad or wrong or whatever the case may be. But I always had a mental note to stay away from how I was treated or how I was raised. And because of that, my son had a pretty good life. He doesn't have any stories about being abused or sexually abused or, mistreated or um, taken advantage of or, being held away from living a childhood like life, you know. Even though I was a legally blind parent, there was a lot of things that I wanted to do for him that I could not do because the limit because of my vision, it limited things that I could do, and a lot of things I couldn't depend on others to do, like, or to help me to do. Like my son, he wanted to do sports and things like that, and I wanted him to do those things even though I was on a fixed income, you know what I'm saying? And pretty much all the money I had was enough to pay our bills and pay the rent and, try to get him things that he needs for school and clothes and things like that. And I was receiving a little bit of child support. So that pretty much helped me with other things that was outside of the necessities that my son needed. So, but the thing was, back then we didn't have Lyft and Uber and all of that. When my son was little, we didn't have that. And my family, they had their own children, so it was like their kids were involved in stuff, so it was hard for them to include my son in things that he had or that he wanted to do. So I didn't really have a lot of help with transporting my son here and there to do things that he wanted to do. So that was pretty much one of the things that I was lacking, that I felt really bad about, because I know my son had things that he wanted to do, and even he knew that it was a struggle for me to get someone to help me. So he would just not bring anything up. He would never, oh, Mom, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of that. And then one day, as he got older, I asked him, how come you never joined this, or you never joined this club or that club or whatever? And he told me, he said, because I know it's hard for you to get around, and I didn't want to put any burden on you to try to get things done for me or trying to get me where I want to go. So that's why he did not push to be a part of things. And I felt really bad about that because, I wanted that for him. Now, he was a part of some things, like he was in ROTC, and so he got to experience that, and everything that he did, I did make a way for me to get up there, but it up to the school to, be a part. He was in choir. He loved to sing. So he did get to be a part of some after school or some programs, but they were like things that happened within school. Like choir is a class, you know what I'm saying? So him, doing choir in school, that helped him to be able to be a part of something that he wanted to do. But if it was something like basketball, football, baseball, soccer, or something like that, they're not classes that students take in school. They're after school, extracurricular activities. So he wasn't involved in any extracurricular activities, but thankfully some things that were going on in school he enjoyed doing, so he became a part of that. Like I said, ROTC and choir, those are courses that you can take in school. So he did get to be a part of that. And whenever he would have a concert or something going on in ROTC, I would make a way for me to get up there. But if it's something like baseball or soccer, like he was really interested in soccer. Now, those sports, you practice every day or 3 or 4 days out of the week. And so I would have to have a ride for him to get to and from practice every day or every other day or however that would work, and I just did not have anyone that I could depend on to say, hey, can you take Michael to practice? Can you pick him up from practice? I didn't have that. I didn't have it. So as long as it was something every once in a while, oh, Michael's having a concert, and then I can get somebody to take me there and pick me up. And then next couple of months, Michael has another concert. I can get someone there to pick me up, to take me and pick me up. But, so in spite of me being legally blind, I didn't just give up and say, oh, well, I can't see that well, so I can't allow my son to do anything and I can't do anything. I still was there for him whenever he had something going on. I felt bad that he couldn't do some things he wanted to do simply because I didn't have a support system that I could depend on. So it was tough, but even in spite of that, my son, he had and still has a good life. He doesn't have any trauma or any, I wasn't in an abusive relationship with his father when he was a baby, but when I left, he was 2, and he doesn't really have any memory of that. So I'm thankful that I didn't stay in that situation long enough to where it would affect him and he would have bad memories of it. So but life is life. But all of this stuff that I went through as a child, I just did my best to make sure that my son didn't experience it, because I didn't like what I went through, and I didn't feel like any child should have to go through it. And no child asked to be here. Even I didn't ask to be here, so I didn't understand why I was going through it. I didn't do anything to deserve it. This is my little child mind thinking. What did I do to deserve this? I didn't ask to be created and to come into this world. Why am I going through this? What's the point of my life? And I was determined that my son would never have to think that way when it comes to me being his parent. So I did the best that I could. And now when I see other children and I see them in good foster homes or adopted by great people, and they're doing so good, and they're thriving as children and able to have a childhood, and they're blessed with good parents, it makes me so happy to see other children come out of situations that I've been in myself. They didn't have to grow up living like that, like I did. So that's why I have a heart for children, especially for foster children. And I believe that one day God is going to bless my husband and I to be able to take in foster kids. And, that'll be awesome. So, but yeah, so I like to watch certain movies, and I was talking to my husband about it earlier this morning, and I'm like, I wanted to watch Annie yesterday. I didn't end up watching it, but I'm going to watch it today. And I watched Annie many times, and I was telling him, like, I really like that movie because, I can relate. I can relate to being a foster kid. I can relate to, living in an orphanage or a girl's home or a group home. I can relate to these things. And then just to see the happy ending, how, she ended up getting adopted by the richest man in the state or in the country or whatever it was. And she became like a little princess. And, it makes me so happy. I love movies like that. I love the happy ending. And even though I didn't really get that type of happy ending, but my story is still being written. You know what I'm saying? My childhood didn't end that way. Like, oh, I just got adopted by these beautiful people and they took such good care of me and I had a great life. That's not my story. I went through all the way up until adulthood. And when I had my own child, I had to depend on God to show me how to be a good parent, because I didn't have that growing up. Now, don't get me wrong. I had certain foster homes where the parents were good, but there was always something that was bad with it. Like, I lived in a foster home when I my very first foster home. I think I was a year old when I got there, and I stayed there till I was 3. The family was nice. Everybody was nice. It was a pretty good thing. But my foster dad was doing things to me. Every once in a while he had certain little sexual things that he was trying to get me to do. And so that's what made that foster home bad. But other than that, I grew up like a cute little white girl. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm black. But my first foster home was a white foster home. And, you know, that was different for me, of course. But, it was good. I got all the nice toys that I wanted. I was treated good. My foster mom, she tucked me in every night. She woke me up with love every morning. I went to school. I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everything was good except for, what was going on with the foster dad. And then, from there, I went into another foster home, which was pretty okay. That's where I met my siblings. That's when I found out I had other siblings besides my brother that was in the foster home with me, the first foster home. But I found out I had a couple more siblings, and I ended up in a foster home with them. And that foster home was pretty cool. I didn't have any issue with that. But then we got adopted, and that's when all hell broke loose. For 9 years, over 9 years, almost 10 years, it was terrible. That was mostly the rest of my childhood. I was there until I was 15. Yeah, 15. Then I left there and I went into a girls' home. I left there and went into a group home. And then my brother and I finally got into a foster home when I was 16 going on 17. And that foster home wasn't that bad, but that woman, she was kind of weird. I didn't really like it there. I didn't feel comfortable with her. She had little issues with her mind. I don't know how they pick these foster parents. I don't understand it. And I used to want to be a social worker. But then I was like, I don't know, that might be too much for me. It might be too much for me. So I didn't do it. But I know I would have been a good one if I would have gave myself a chance to do it. I would have been, man, one of the best social workers in the world, because I wouldn't have been playing it when it came to kids. I wouldn't have been playing, because I know how it is to be a child without a voice, and nobody cares and nobody wants to hear you, and your your social workers becoming friends with your foster parents, and so everything that you say is a lie, and the foster parent and the caseworker, the social worker, are friends, so you're just stuck. I know how that feels. I've been there. So I would have been a great voice for children, but I was kind of afraid to do it because I felt like emotionally it would have been too much for me. It would have been like, oh man, I probably would have went to bed crying every single night. I probably would have never had any peace within myself because of how much I can relate to the children that I'm working with. And I'm like, I don't want to be bound like that. I need to be free. So I just couldn't do it. But being a foster parent, at least I can do that and show a child or children the love that they've never had, and the love that they deserve, and the love that I wanted, that I deserved growing up. I could reciprocate that onto other children just like I did with my son. So I just want to be one of those great foster parents where, even if I don't adopt anyone, at least they can look back and say, when I stayed at the Riley's house, I had a good life. I missed them. They treated me so good. I want to leave that impression on children. And if I can give back in that way, that would be awesome. So eventually, God is going to bless us to do that. Not right now, though. Right now, we're focusing on you know, other things that God is using us to do. But it's coming, you guys, and you'll be a part of the journey, because, you know, we're going to share everything with you. But yeah, like I love seeing foster children make it out of the terrible system and into a good home with a good family, and they're treated with love. That thing means so much to me. And I just watch that little girl's videos, and I'd be like, man, Father, bless bless those foster parents for doing so good by that child. I'm just, man, if I can write these people and just express myself to them, and express how, you know, how much it means to me to see what they're doing, I would. And even, you know, I have a couple visually impaired children that I follow, and even though they're not in foster care, I see how their parents treat them and how they do their best to open up the world to their children, and, you know, allow them to have a good life, allow them to explore, even being legally blind or totally blind. They still try to make sure that they have a good life, and they still try to make sure that they have access to things that will help them to have, you know, a good childhood and be able to experience things that other children get to experience. I didn't have those things. My foster mom was mean to me. You know, even if we did something that was meant for me to enjoy, she was so mean and wicked that she just made it a terrible experience. So even being legally blind, looking at other children growing up, and I'm seeing how they're loved and how their parents, you know what I'm saying, advocate for them, and how their parents do everything that they can to make sure that they have a good life, so they don't have to sit up and regret life because, you know, they're not able to do this and they're not able to do that, and they're blind and they can't do anything. You know what I'm saying? So man, I just love it. And I'm coming from two different angles, from being a foster child and from being a child that was disabled, that had, you know, that was legally blind. When I see these children, and that's why I want to work at the school for the blind. My husband and I are going to do a video about our job, our experience looking for a job. Just we talked about it before. Well, I talked about it before, but I just want to give a couple little updates, and then my husband, he's going to share, you know, whatever he has to share concerning his journey with looking for a job, being legally blind. So I'm excited for us to do that video. Look for that one should be coming up next. But yes, man, that's why I want to work with these children. I want to work with blind children. I want to work with foster children, because it's a passion for me. Because the things that I went through, I just have this strong desire to help other children so that they don't suffer the way that I did. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I may become a foster parent to blind children. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what God is doing, but I just know what I feel in my heart, and what desires have been placed inside of me. And however it's going to happen, whatever God's going to do, however God leads it to happen, it'll happen. So, but yeah, that's my story, guys. I love to watch Cinderella stories. I know. I'm 43 years old, but you know, I love these stories because I relate to all of these things. I relate. I relate to having a wicked foster mom, not a wicked stepmother, but foster mom, who wanted to keep everything good away from me and just wanted to mistreat me. I can relate to all these things, but seeing the happy endings, like, oh, the prince comes and you know, sweeps the, you know, the poor girl off her feet, and now she's a princess and all of that. I love those stories because I can relate to the background of what a lot of these characters have went through. So yeah, man, I love it. I love it. Those are movies I like to watch. I watch some African movies. And I know some people like African movies. Yeah. I watch African movies, but I only watch certain ones. Like I like to watch the ones where, you know, the girl is being mistreated by her parents or her family or her stepmom, and then next thing you know, the prince of the kingdom. Like in Africa, they do have um, king, queen, princes, princesses. Of villages. You know what I'm saying? So the poor little village girl being mistreated by her parents or by her stepmother, and then next thing you know, the prince of the village ends up somehow finding or falling in love with her. And then they got to go through a whole bunch of stuff just to fight for their love because, the king and the queen is like, no, why would you want to, marry somebody who doesn't have parents, or why would you want to, they got a lot of customs in these places in Africa. But, so they fight for their love, and then eventually the prince is able to marry the girl and she becomes the princess. And she was the one that everybody made fun of. She was the one that her stepmother was wicked to, simply because it wasn't her daughter, her biological daughter. You know what I'm saying? So I like to watch stories like that just to see the happy ending. And I'd be like, wow, it makes me feel so good. So I like those stories. So if you know any movies or whatever that is like that, they don't have to be African movies, but even other movies where, it kind of has the same kind of storyline of what I've been talking about, let me know, because I want to watch them. I like those movies. I watched so many Cinderella movies. I even watched Beauty and the Beast. Like, and it's not because I just have this obsession with Disney movies, or my mind is just like a child and I just want to be a Disney princess. No, nothing like that. It's just I can relate to the stories, and to see the happy ending, it does something to me. It just makes me feel good, so that's why I like those stories. So yeah, but and that's why I'd be happy when I find foster kids and I see that these foster parents are doing right by them. Man, I just wish I could hug these people. Like, thank you so much for loving on this child like this and taking such good care of her or him. It just makes me feel so good just to see things come together that didn't necessarily come together for me as a child, but to see others overcome, it makes me so happy. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to just talk to you about, being a foster kid. And if you are someone who grew up in a foster home, please put it in the comments. I would love to connect with you or to hear your story. If you're legally blind and you grew up in foster care, holler at us. Let us know. I'm doing this video by myself pretty much because my husband, he didn't grow up in foster care. My husband, he had a pretty good life. He had a mom who loved him. He has a great support system with his family, and I'm happy for that. So my story is a little different, so that's why it's just me sharing this with you guys. So but yeah, let me know, guys. Let me know how you grew up. Even if you're not legally blind, if you grew up in foster care, let me know how your story was. Did you have good parents? Did you, were you raised in a good home? Or, whatever the case may be, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. If you're not comfortable sharing certain things, then you don't have to, of course. But, I just want to know, did you have a good life, or was it a struggle, or was it, tough for you growing up? And if you're legally blind, if you grew up this way, being legally blind, how was life for you? How did your parents treat you? What did they do for you in order to make sure that you had a good life in spite of having a disability. Yeah, so I don't know. I just wanted to share that with you guys. And if you are someone who is a foster parent, I pray that you're doing right by these children, because they didn't ask to be here, and they deserve to be loved just as much as anybody else in this world. Just because they're not your child, it doesn't mean that it's okay to mistreat them. You know, it's not okay. And any wicked stuff that you do to a child or anybody, you know, God sees everything, and he doesn't play when it comes to his children. And my foster mom, even though she did all that wickedness to me and she was unrepentant, like she didn't care. She was angry with me for leaving. I guess because she wasn't going to be getting a check anymore. I don't know. But it's like she's angry with me. She's not upset with the way that she treated me. She's upset with me for leaving. Ain't that crazy? But God has dealt with her. She ended up finding out that she had cancer, which I don't wish anything bad on anybody, but it's just, hey, when you do things and God keeps giving you chance after chance after chance to get it right, and then you decide that you don't want to, or you're not going to, then eventually your time is up. You know, it's just like if someone was my friend and they just keep mistreating me and mistreating me and mistreating me, or I meet somebody and they just keep doing stuff to me and doing things to hurt me or doing things to take advantage of me, and then I just keep forgiving them and giving them chance after chance because I'm just trying to be a good person to them, because I feel like they need a good person in their life, but then they just keep doing stuff. Eventually I'm going to take myself out of the situation. And when God takes himself out of your situation, it leaves room for the devil to do all kind of stuff. So this woman ended up getting cancer because, hey, God gave her 9 years to get it right. Get it right. Get it right. Treat these children right. And she didn't. So when God removed us out of the way, he took his hands off the situation. And then the devil came in like, yeah, I got you now. You know? But I pray for her. And I pray that God will forgive her and have mercy on her. I don't know if she's still alive today, but the last I heard, she was. But I pray that God has mercy on her, and that he will, give her a heart of repentance and a heart to seek forgiveness. And that she would change from her wicked ways and allow God to create in her a clean heart and a righteous spirit. I don't wish anybody to go to hell. I don't have the type of heart where I'm like, ooh, I wish this would happen to you, or this needs to happen to you. And, you know, if I ever do, I know it's just my flesh, but spiritually, I don't wish for anybody to suffer what the devil has in store in hell. You know what I'm saying? I just pray that people get it together while they're here, and then they can make it to heaven. I pray I make it to heaven. You know? So, hey, that's why I'm trying to be the best person I can and live the way that God wants me to live, so that way I'm not, working against God and doing things that I know God doesn't want his children to do. And then next thing you know, boom, I don't make it to heaven. So, but yeah, that's just something that I was thinking about, you guys, and that I just wanted to share. So I hope it was all right. I hope I didn't bore anybody. But this is my story. This is my life. And that's that. So please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share at the end of this video. If you made it to the end of this video and you have not already, please make sure you hit that like button. And if you have not subscribed already, make sure you subscribe if you're watching from YouTube. Make sure you follow if you're watching from Facebook. Make sure you following if you're watching from TikTok, any of these platforms. If you like these videos, just show us some love and support by liking and following and subscribing. We would appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. I love you, fam bam. Thank you for all your love and support and all the wonderful comments that you guys put in the comment section. It definitely helps me and it helps us, and it, you know what I'm saying, it's just a blessing to have people that want to encourage you, that want to show you love, and it means so much, you guys. It means so much to us. So thank you so much. I love you, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.